name is Anisa Judson, and today I'm going to be sharing with you guys my venture in deciding to live minimally and to build a tiny house. So before I share my experience, I want to share some information on why I wanted to do this in the first place. The tiny house movement began in 2014 when people like Jay Schaefer, the founder of Four Lights Tiny House Company and pioneer of the movement, started to test the boundaries of what legally is and is not considered a house. In America, we have laws on what the minimum size of a house can be. The average family home is 2,600 square feet, which is much more than anyone actually needs to live comfortably. What defines a tiny house is an area of less than 400 square feet. So in one average home, you have the equivalent of 6.5 tiny houses. So over the last 50 years, the average size of a house has doubled, and at the same time, the average number of friends that each American has shrunk by half. Effectively, we're trading human connection for material items. I want to prevent that in my life by living minimally, having exactly what I need to live comfortably and choosing quality over quantity when it comes to friends and living environments. So why are people doing this? They could be living in big, spacious houses with dining rooms, living rooms, multiple bed and bathrooms, and instead are choosing to live in an area the size of a shoe closet. The opportunities, in my opinion, for work and travel expand so much when you decide to live on wheels. Wherever you need to go, you can take your life with you. This is a very attractive option to a lot of people who are living on the move for work or wanting to see life outside their hometown. Last year, I participated in the Tiny House Jamboree that took place in Colorado Springs. They were expecting a turnout of 10,000 people, and instead, a crowd of nearly 30,000 people decided to show up. So whatever it is, people seem to really like this idea of living really tiny. Living minimally allows for more time living and less time managing a huge house. This supports a healthy family experience because the space is enclosed. You can't hide from the people in your home, and problems must be resolved in order to maintain peace. Once you build a tiny house, they are very cost-effective to run, and the more off-grid you make them, so solar panel and water collection, the cheaper it gets. But to construct a tiny house yourself, it costs between $10,000 and $50,000, depending on how insane you want to deck it out and what commodities you need in your life. Deciding to live minimally really put into perspective what's important to me. The downsizing is a huge part of deciding to live in a small house. Only the most important of items should be kept. Photos, heirlooms, the stories that actually matter, not just the stuff for stuff's sake. One thing I've noticed about people of a slightly older generation is that they have a bias to this movement. They equate material items and space to wealth and prosperity because of events like the Great Depression and not having enough. So when people got better and could afford a quality of life, having more meant that you were well off. But my generation is seeing the struggle of debt in our country, working hard 12-hour days to afford big houses that they never get to appreciate because, well, they're at work all day trying to afford it. So I began my venture on SLE March 31st of 2015 when I first learned about the SLE opportunity that Remsel offers its seniors. I have lived in many houses over my life, and the dream of stability, in a sense, seemed like something that I could benefit from. So I got to work researching how I was going to tackle this very large goal. Many YouTube videos and articles later, I thought that I had an idea of what this project would take. But before you can build a house, or any house for that matter, you have to get the foundation ready. So when I bought my trailer, I had to rip off all of the pre-existing floor and get it reinforced. We were able to get the help of a friend named Dennis West, who owns the 23rd Avenue Sculpture Studio in Denver. He was more than willing to help us for free. It took a weekend's worth of work where I got to go to the welding studio, learn the tools, and actually do the work on my trailer with him. It was an invaluable experience, and also very kind of them to help me in the time that they did. So the purpose of the welding on the trailer, the reason I had to take everything apart to start over, is to prevent my house from twisting or racking on the road. So if the trailer twists at all, my house could, in theory, split in half, and that is not a good thing. So after that, my trailer went to my dad's house in Aurora, and I got the help of George Landstrom to pull it over there. And then I was able to get to work building the subfloor. So now, after all of that work, my trailer looks exactly like it did in the beginning when I bought it. As is the rule of construction, 3 steps forward and 2 steps back, all the way until you're done. Sometimes all you're able to do is wait for materials, people, or weather to behave. If this project has taught me anything, it has taught me to be patient, even when I really don't want to. But getting frustrated only slows down the constructive thought that can help problem solve and overcome obstacles. Before I could even begin drawing up my blueprints and picturing my dream house, I had to go get the dimensions of my windows, sink, and door. So I went to Bud's warehouse, a recommendation of Joelle, and found all of my stuff in one day. I went through probably 15 or 20 different house designs before I came up with something that I really wanted, which is a round roof gypsy wagon with vertical panel woods on the side. You would be amazed at how many pieces it takes to pull a house together. You just have to learn to love the logistics and not fight them. They're the most important piece by far. So, this last month, my boyfriend Alex, our dog Lucy, and myself loaded up in the car with all of our supplies and headed over the hills to Grand Junction. We went to our family friends' Faith Johnson and George Hill's farm. It was a cute half-acre property right outside the city limit. We had to employ the help of Santa, my grandpa Tom, to pull the trailer over the mountains, as I do not yet have a truck or a house to pull. So, Alex and I spent the first half month cleaning up the property so that we could work on my house. This involved moving 3,500 pounds of metal across the yard and organizing various parts and pieces. We were prepping the land also so that others can come and work on their various projects. My expert George is a licensed general contractor and very smart when it comes to engineering, so he wants to offer people the opportunity to come and work on the land with someone to help brainstorm building techniques who's qualified to make sure that everything is safe. He and Faith plan to start their own tiny house company in the future where they can produce people's homes for them. But in the meantime, it's the prep work before you can even start cutting or sawing. So I had hoped that they had been a little further into that prep work when we arrived on the 1st of April. It stalled the possibility of me doing any actual building in that month, but I got a lot of good blueprint pointers on how to engineer my walls and roof, and now they're all to a point where I can actually start building this summer. So, however, as there's always a complication with the big plans, we would have needed to be done by August, which wouldn't have been a problem if we had had way more money and resources out in Grand Junction. Being so far away from home didn't leave much room for resourcing. We had spent half the time preparing and we couldn't start when we wanted to, but after much deliberation, we felt that we had better opportunities to work in Denver and get my house done by winter. Overall, it was an experience going to Grand Junction, but not necessarily the experience I had pictured in my mind. I got a lot of good people and communication skills, as well as living with roommates and sharing a communal space, which is not always easy. You don't ever really know what you're getting into until you're already totally into it. So on the 15th of this month, I'm going back to get my trailer and supplies where I can bring them home and actually start building. So, thank you.